Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are excited to have you on the line. Today, we are discussing making the most of Cybersecurity Month. Yes, Cybersecurity Month is a real thing, and it is something that we should absolutely be taking advantage of. So we want to make sure you guys have everything in line to make that happen, because it is starting here in less than a week. So a couple action items for this webinar. There will be a recording of this webinar sent out afterwards. So if you have to leave for any reason, we will be sending out a recording. I also highly encourage you to ask questions, as many questions as you possibly have. Go ahead and just put those in the questions bar, and I will be either facilitating those throughout the webinar or I will hit them at the end of the webinar. So those are our housekeeping items. You may have seen as you joined in here a couple things that we want to highlight. First things first, if you have not joined our Facebook group, please feel free to do so. It's where a lot of conversation goes on about these sessions as well as about any other questions. That's the CharTech MSP group on Facebook. Second, we are having a cybersecurity pre-day on December the 3rd. So our academy is coming up December 4th through 6th. The pre-day to that will be a December 3rd cybersecurity pre-day, where we will be focused on all things cybersecurity, defining that offering, how to sell it most effectively, how to get your current customers interested, how to get them to understand that this is more than just your average Joe offering or what you've already sold them in terms of your all-you-can-eat offering. So that's coming up on December 3rd. We'll be shooting out an email here soon about how to register for that particular event. Register for the Academy if you're ready, and you will be for sure to get that registration. Like I mentioned, the Academy is December 4th through 6th. The theme of that Academy is what is your 2020 vision? Both playing into clear vision of 2020 and also playing into the year 2020. So we'll be doing a bunch of sessions surrounding that planning in addition to our traditional curriculum for that academy, December 4th through 6th. We wanted to get it in before the full end of year holiday festivities really kick off. So those are a few things to be aware of. Today we are covering Cybersecurity Month. You guys may recognize my voice. My name is Emily Sagano. I am the Director of Marketing for CharTech and Arc Technology. I've been with the companies for about 7 years now in various capacities, both marketing and strategy oriented. So this is one of my major passions here, is making sure you guys know what to do to get leads in the funnel and to get people interested in what it is that you have to offer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look here at Cybersecurity Month. So what is it? Why are we doing it? How do we take advantage of it? So this is actually the 16th year of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It is something that the national government created in collaboration with businesses to help people be more secure and safe online. Obviously, it is an important thing for us, even more so important now than it was 16 years ago with all the threats and the ransomware and breaches and all those kind of things. So the question now becomes, of course, we want to take advantage of it. How do we do so? How do we make Cybersecurity Awareness Month something that is absolutely critical for our business success? And turn it into leads, turn it into something that is to our advantage. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Some of the different tactics you can take, some of the different ideas that we have in terms of taking advantage of Cybersecurity Month. And my goal for you here on this webinar is for you to take away a few tidbits that you can go and implement in the next 5 days to have a more successful Cybersecurity Month than you ever have before. So for some of you, that might mean having, a cybersecurity month celebration for the first time. For some of you, that might mean taking it from a couple posts on Facebook to a full bore campaign. And some of you, it might mean taking it from a campaign to hosting an event and having a lot of people involved and engaged. So there's going to be lots of different tactics that we'll talk about in this particular webinar, but all things that you should be able to take advantage of here in Cybersecurity Month. So let's jump right in. Very first thing that I want to hit on is social media. Social media is the thing to use for events like this. It is one of the best and brightest ways to celebrate some of these unique, funky days on the calendar. Brandy recently taught a session at our academy, our recent September Academy, on social media and how you really needed to be involved, engaged in social media. And one of the tactics that she recommended is having a national day calendar next to you at all times, so you know and can play in to some of the things that are most engaging. Not everything will be as close of a fit as Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but you can play off on most of the days through the year. We've got National Margarita Day. Does your IT make you feel like you need one of these? All those kind of things. Play into it, use it, and use it to your advantage. So these tactics not only work for Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but some other things as well. But what I want you to do immediately on your social media to make this happen is create a cover image that is all about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Are you aware it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month? Adjust your cover image to have your branding and something about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So when people come to your page, they see what's going on, they see that you're in tune, they see that you're current, and away you go. Now, that being said, after Cybersecurity Awareness Month, make sure you change it back to something, either your next event, some more generic branding, anything like that. Make sure that you're consistently updating that post so that it always looks like you are engaged and with you. Next, your posts. Absolutely want to be posting about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You may get a harebrained idea in this moment when I say posts that you want to post a cybersecurity awareness tip every day of the month. That would be cool. And if you have the capacity to do it, absolutely go ahead and run with that idea. Run with that campaign. A cybersecurity awareness tip every day of the month. Go for it. What is probably more practical for most of you is to do about 3 posts a week. And we like our posts to have a cadence that's fairly familiar each and every week. So the first could be about a blog that you post surrounding cybersecurity awareness. We'll get to our blogs a little bit later here. The second could be an engagement post. How many of you have fallen victim to a phishing scheme? Anything like that. Getting people to raise their hands, getting people to be engaged, getting people to post pictures, GIFs, memes, anything like that. That tends to get some awareness up and get some interest up. So that's something that you can post. Another thing, something posting about an event, or you could do a modified version of a cybersecurity awareness tips type campaign. So you want to take a look at all of those aspects of your campaigns. We like to post, as I mentioned, 3 days a week. It's something that is reasonable for us. It's something that's manageable for us. And then we add in other components as needed, or other ancillary items that are interesting or exciting. So you can definitely take our schedule and use that. You can up the ante and do a post every day with cybersecurity tips. At minimum, you want to make sure you've got this cover image on there and you're saying something about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Now, you see here where I have blogs listed specifically on the social media. We post a blog every week. I'll go through that content later, but make sure, and this is to repeat, make sure that you have that blog content linked on your social media each and every week so that you are taking advantage of it. Last but not least, social media ads. Now, be careful here. With these ads, I am not talking about ads that are going to get people to sign a managed services contract today, even a cybersecurity contract today. That's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these ads. These ads are things like, we are hosting a cybersecurity awareness event later this month. So you're pulling to that event. You're trying to get registrations for that event. The other thing you could do here is a lead magnet. So some resource, some draw. So a checklist for phishing, a what should I do if I've been hacked, a what do I need to be aware of, what are the biggest threats today. All of those resources are relevant resources that you could potentially utilize as a lead magnet with some Facebook ads. So that's what we want to look at in terms of our social media. Now, some of you are probably sitting there thinking, I don't have a social media presence at all. I'm just going to sleep through this section and not do this. You absolutely need to work on your social media presence. Is it something that is going to get people to call very hot, wanting to sign deals? Not necessarily, but it is really important from the aspect of content support. It's really important from an SEO perspective. It's really important from a brand awareness perspective. And this is the place where if you use the right content, you can engage with your clients really well. So with that comes, okay, I have a social media profile, but I don't have any followers. How do I get followers? Okay, so first, start with your friends. Even if they are not the most interested people in your company, go ahead and ask them to like your page and follow your page. The more likes and follows you have, the more likely Facebook is to serve up, and LinkedIn as well is likely to serve up your content for more people to see. So start with your friends. Next approach, run up a contest, likes, shares type contest. Third approach, and this is probably the most important of them all, interact with the people you want to interact with you. Like and follow your prospects pages. Comment on what they're doing. Utilize their social media to get them interested in your social media. So create engagement, create conversation. Don't just put something up there and hope. So here's a few visuals of some ideas that you can put up. Make sure, as always, any images that you use are branded to you in case they get shared, in case they get used. These are all ideas that you can use. Go ahead and go on the ARC Technology page from yesterday. The ARC Technology page yesterday may actually be the ChartTech page, either one. But Brandy posted a really great photo about the budget before a breach and the budget after a breach. Stuff like that gets people interested, gets people to at least stop for a second and look at what's going on. Those are the type of posts that you're really looking for, the ones that are going to get people to stop and read and learn more. So, social media absolutely needs to be part of this campaign. Now, one last note on the social media side, hashtags. There is a hashtag for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Use it, love it, even if you don't think you understand what hashtags are or what they do. Some studies say that you need to use about 10 hashtags per post for it to be utilized successfully. Research those hashtags well, know which ones you're using. Cybersecurity, cybersecurity awareness, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You can also tie into, some are doing a specific National Cybersecurity Awareness Month campaign. You can tie into those national resources as well to take a look at what's going on there. So the hashtags are important to kind of tie all these pieces of these campaigns together. And for those that don't know why a hashtag would be important, that is your search functionality in social media. So if the more you use hashtags, the more searchable you are by people who may not know you out of the gate, and the better off you're going to end up with a campaign like this. So to recap, update your branding to make sure you've got a cover image on there. Post about 3 times a week. It doesn't all have to be Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but you want to at least have that. Make sure all your images are branded, and make sure you're engaging with others. Engage with other people, engage with your prospects, engage with people even if they haven't reached out to you. You make that first step. That's the first part of the campaign. Second part of the campaign, blogging, blogging, blogging. Okay. We like to post on a blog schedule of 1 blog each and every week. We like to make those blogs campaign specific. So this month, for example, we'll have 4 blogs surrounding cybersecurity awareness. I'll go into the specific campaign that we're looking at here a little bit later, but that's what you want to see, and that's what we want you to do, is take a look at that, that blog schedule and post on a week-by-week basis. Now, for the first week could be an introduction to the topic. The second week could be a deeper dive into the topic. The third week could be how they apply the topic. And the fourth week could be just kind of a recap summary. If you don't want to use our blogs, that's kind of how you're going to want to roll them out. Blogs in and of themselves, you have your educational blog, the what is, the deep dive on definitions. There's your educational side. You can have your introductory side. You could do a whole introduction on what is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Why is it important to you? Why is it important to businesses in general? Why people should pay attention? Why it even exists. You could also do some current event commentary. Each and every day, we are seeing new things pop up in terms of ransomware, in terms of breaches, attacks, new phishing campaigns, all those kind of things. Each and every day, those are being posted on the news. More and more people are talking about them. You absolutely can utilize those for your content. This is how we like to do it. You can summarize that event and then talk about how to prevent it, what you would have done differently, and what the impacts are going to be. And while you're summarizing that event, feel free to link out to the original resources reporting on that event. That tends to be a really good way to get positive SEO interaction and get people more engaged in what's going on. So definitely utilize that current event commentary. You could also utilize the current event commentary when you write that blog. Also push it out as a press release. Get others involved. Get the news stations involved in what you're doing so that they are paying attention too, and you create that relationship. News stations love commentary on current events, particularly if they're having a major impact. And that is something, cybersecurity, breaches, phishing, having a major impact. If you can become their security expert, either through these articles or through presentations, or through interviews rather, that is the way to go. Your ultimate goal in blogging about this and about any other subject really is to create the rabbit hole of content. Your first blog of the month, ours, for example, is going to be all about ransomware and the rise of ransomware, should apply to all the other blogs for that month so that you can tie back to it, so that you can link back to it in those future blogs, and you create this rabbit hole of content where people are seeing more and more what you do and clicking deeper and deeper into the site so that they can become more and more engaged. We utilize this rabbit hole of content for our lead scoring. All of our lead scoring comes from it. Lead scoring being if they click on a link, they get a certain amount of points. If they click and download a resource, they get more points. If they register for a webinar, they get more points. If they register for an event, they get even more points. So we want to create funnels of opportunity for people to dive in and get really engaged with our content so we can start to see those scores go up and up and up until we treat them as a hot lead. It's the same thing where you're sitting on YouTube on a regular basis, right? And all of a sudden you've got you've been sitting there for 3 hours and you weren't aware of where all that time went. That's what you want to create on your site. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to sit there for 3 hours, but it creates that opportunity for deeper connection, deeper engagement, and if you're tracking it, the better off. Now, even if you aren't tracking it, it's something that you should do, because the more content you can provide for them, the better off you're going to be, the better brand awareness you're going to have. So, our cadence on this is 4 blogs throughout the month, or you can do 3 blogs in the last week of the month, do a downloadable resource. Once you do that downloadable resource, we also recommend linking it back to all the other blogs that you did so that everything is connected. You've got more opportunities for engagement and you're furthering that rabbit hole of content. Okay, so that's the blogging portion of this campaign. The next part, the email campaigns. So you have a few options here. On our core site, we have available to you several campaigns that would tie specifically into Cybersecurity Awareness Month, including a cybersecurity campaign that's already posted. You are more than welcome to utilize these campaigns for this. Now, what I would recommend doing is in each of these emails right here, it may not refer specifically to Cybersecurity Awareness Month. What I would do is add an intro paragraph about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is what I did for our campaign, and we're still crafting some of our campaign, and then it will also be up on the course site for you guys to use, and it will be utilized by all of our premium members. So that's why we're still crafting it at this point, but you have access to these campaigns now, so don't let it deter you that we're still crafting that premium campaign. So this campaign, you can add this paragraph at the front of each email. Happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Yes, this is really a real thing, and we think it should be celebrated with cupcakes, cookies, brownies, whatever you want to put in there, right? And so you start with those little intro excitement pieces, and then you move into the content. Now, because you said we think it should be celebrated with whatever tasty treat you decided to put in the campaign, you now have an opportunity to go out and canvas and drop off that celebratory item to whoever you sent the email to. You don't have to hit absolutely everybody on the list, but you could measure who's engaging in your campaign. You could measure who's showing some level of interest, opened the email, clicked a link, has shown interest in your company before, anything like that, and go visit them. Take the opportunity to go visit them, and then you'll know you'll have that greater opportunity for engagement while you're there. And you have a legitimate reason to visit. Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You want them to be involved and engaged. So that's just a little tidbit to add to the start of these campaigns. But let's talk about these campaigns in particular. The campaigns are built off the blogs that we just talked about. So we have an email to go with each blog, and then we push that out over the course of the month. Once a week, we like to send those. Your email sends are best sent Tuesday through Thursday. We try to avoid Monday and Friday if possible. But if you reach Friday and you haven't sent out your email, don't wait for next week. Go ahead and send it. It's totally fine. You just may not get as much open, but it is better to have sent it and not get as much results than to have not sent it at all and then start spiraling out of your schedule and pattern. We do recommend Tuesdays through Thursdays for these emails. Like I said, they're all based off the blogs. So what you're seeing up here is the core screen. You can utilize any of those campaigns if you're a CharTech member on core. They're all there. Now, you'll see the blogs are also there. I do recommend tweaking these if you need to tweak anything that perhaps tangentially mentions the offering, if there's any verbiage that you want to change, if there's any titles that you think make more sense to your audience, feel free to tweak and change. These are meant to be a really solid backbone to your campaign. And then when you go to translate it to email, different people do different things. We like to have sometimes a little intro blurb from the blog as the first part of our email, but most often we craft an email that's an intro to the topic that's going to be covered in their blog, and then we say essentially, learn more here and reach out to us if you need help implementing. Something like that. You'll see it in the cybersecurity emails that we have there. Our emails, we like to keep less than 200 words. And what we're finding at this point that is becoming very successful for us is having a button in those emails. Those buttons, and the button can connect to your Contact Us page. The buttons can connect to your resource page. People are attracted to those buttons, so we tend to get a lot more clicks. So in the case of your first email, maybe you want it to go to a Contact Us page if you have some offer that you want people to take advantage of. In the last emails, we like to do it to our resource, that deep dive resource that we talked a little bit about. That's how we like to connect those particular emails. I'll show you an email cadence here later about what this campaign can truly look like from a day-by-day perspective. But this is the content that you want to use in your emails. Make sure you're tying to educational pieces. And what you want to do there, I clicked a little early on my slide. You want to educate as much as possible in these, but you can also have a call to action. Not everyone needs a call to action. You are purposefully educating the audience and making sure that you've got that audience engaged before you give them a call to action, but you can have some calls to actions. Good calls to action in Cybersecurity Awareness Month are dark web scans, are a network security scan or a network security audit, a network security checklist. Those things are all strong calls to action to get people to be engaged. Now, a note about these email campaigns. These campaigns, and most managed services campaigns for that matter, are not designed to have people call you up and say, I absolutely need your services today. Please, please, please sell me something. Now, you're going to run into some situations where that happens, where somebody has a down server, somebody really hates their IT guy. You're going to run into those situations where that makes sense, and they are going to call you up out of the blue. But most often, you're going to see people interact with your emails via clicking on those links, via opens, but the phone is not going to ring off the hook. You are going to have to do the follow-up. Now, the good news, in each of these campaigns that are listed here, there is a script component, and that script is your follow-up. We are finding that people have to actively follow up at least 5 to 7 times for people to engage. Once they get that engagement, they're golden. You've got the appointment, you're good to go. But it does take 5 to 7 times for people to be engaged. So this is why it is absolutely critical that you use an email system that has some level of analytics. We like to use Acton because it has a full lead scoring component and everything is tracked. Other people use things like SharpSpring, Infusionsoft. They have versions of scoring. And others that don't want to make that investment use things like Constant Contact, MailChimp, Campaign Director, and ConnectWise. You, at a bare minimum, want something like that you can track your opens, you can track your clicks, you can see who is engaged and what they're engaged in. So at a bare minimum, you want something like Campaign Director, Constant Contact, MailChimp. If you are using something like that, Campaign Director has a version of lead scoring, Constant Contact and MailChimp do not. If you're using something like Constant Contact or MailChimp, you are going to have to track your most engaged people. Both Constant Contact and MailChimp came out with a report recently about that. And you can track people over the course of a quarter. You can track people over the course of a campaign. You can basically see what they're doing and what their activity is, but you have to go in there and physically pull that report to make it happen. It is possible, it is doable, and we highly recommend it. Once you pull a report like that, or in our case, once a lead score hits 30 and we get an alert saying that they're interested, that's when we start our 5 to 7 touches of phone follow-up and individual email follow-up. So the phone follow-up, your scripts include a voicemail. You're most likely going to run into a voicemail situation, and you do not want to leave your typical voicemail. You do not want to leave the hi, I'm such and such from such and such IT company, just wanted to touch base to see if our services may be of interest to you. We offer blah, 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 and blah. 100% of the time, that voicemail is being deleted. You want to focus on the legitimate reason for your call, the problem in IT security today. So you can start with, there's a problem in the IT space today. Ransomware, breaches, everything is on the rise, and we're seeing more and more companies go out of business due to attacks. Many of our clients were able to utilize X in order to increase X. I'm not sure if it would be the great fit for your company or not, but would it make sense for us to touch base? And you can read that full script in the core side. But essentially, here's your components. You've got your intro that talks about your legitimate reason for your call. The second step of that call is what you've been able to do for your clients. Clients like you have been able to. You don't phrase it in there, we can do blah, 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 blah. Clients like you have been able to. And then the third part is the ask. Would it make sense for us to chat? Now, you can also go with the more aggressive approach. So let's say, for example, you ran a dark web scan on this company and you found some breaches. Your voicemail context then changes to this. Hi, I'm X from X Technology. I have some information about some hacks at your company that I really need to talk to you about. I'm available until 4. Now, make sure you have information about actual hacks or actual breaches or anything like that. But you can have that aggressive message that you need to speak to them. So your voicemail cadence, we call it a 3x3 cadence. You do 3 voicemails or calls, 3 emails that go alongside it. Now, you do not send that email immediately upon hanging up from your voicemail because that just gives them an excuse not to listen to the voicemail. We wait a couple days. Then you send that email. Wait a couple days, do another call. Wait a couple days, send another email. So that's how that cadence needs to work, so that you're paying attention to all of these items. You're getting their attention when they're ready and continuing to be relentless, but not being obnoxious. Okay, so your campaign to everyone has 4 email touches. Once they hit a lead score or once they show some level of interest, meaning they're clicking through on blogs, they're clicking through on emails, you start your call cadence. That's the 5 to 7 touches in the 3x3 voicemail email cadence. Okay, so that covers the email campaigns piece. Now, somebody's asking on core, where in the resources is this campaign found? You're going to go under resources, marketing, and then there's campaigns right there. Any of the campaigns related to cybersecurity are the ones that you're going to want to use. So breaches is another option here. I've got the cybersecurity one pulled up. Dark web is another option if you want to do a strong call to action with that. We like to do dark web scanning. Social engineering is another option. It's based specifically, obviously, around social engineering, so it's a little bit more specific there. But you're going to go under core, resources, marketing, campaigns, or you can simply search cybersecurity in the search bar, and it should pop up for you. Okay, so we've got the social media. We've got our blogging down pat. We've got our email campaigns running. To up the ante a bit here, host an event. Now, this event doesn't necessarily have to be in the month of October. It sometimes takes 6 to 8 weeks to get an event off the ground. Now, that means you're going to want to host that event before the second week in November. Anything after the second week in November has 2 challenges. 1, you're too far removed from Cybersecurity Awareness Month to really tie into Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And 2, we've hit the holiday season, so there's just no way it's happening. So, that being said, plan your event for end of October to the first week of November. Now, you've got a few options for your event. Our most successful at this point is Hacking the Hacker. You can typically see about 15 to 25 people at a Hacking the Hacker event. Our first event, it was a while back. It was back in 2017, but we had 84 people at that event. You can expect a more reasonable 15 to 25. Now, what are we covering at that event? We are not covering our security offering. We are not covering how we can protect them. We're covering getting in the mind of the hacker. We're covering how these hacks occur, why they occur, and tips to keep people safe. We had a group yesterday, they've been hosting Hacking the Hacker as a series. And so they did a couple Hacking the Hacker, straight Hacking the Hacker events, which are introductory to hacks, phishing, ransomware, social engineering, all those kind of things we'll be covering in the blogs for this month. They took it a step further and did a specific dark web event. And that event translated into about 15 people for attendance, and about 6 of them turned into leads of some sort, whether hot leads or at least warm enough to follow up on. We like that style of event because you have a very clear call to action when it comes to dark web with a dark web scan. We utilize ID agents for our dark web scans, and it's something that you can actually do live in the event. You can have pulled it ahead of time. All of those kind of things are really helpful just to get engagement at the event. But Hacking the Hacker, we like to do ours lunch and learn style. We've got some others that do theirs more around cocktail hour. We had another group do theirs at the breakfast hour. It just depends on what is most relevant for your audience. If your audience likes to get out of the office during lunchtime and take an extended lunch, absolutely host that at that time. Think about when you make it out of the office to go to events, and that might be a good starting point for when you should have your Hacking the Hacker. Our lunch and learn events typically are an hour and a half long. That first half hour is more check-in, tours, chatting, networking, getting their lunch, and the second hour is that piece of the presentation. So that is what we want to look at when it comes to a Hacking the Hacker. We have a recording of our Hacking the Hacker in the Lunch and Learns course on course. You can actually see what our Hacking the Hacker Lunch and Learns looked like earlier this year. Now, that being said, at the end of this webinar, at the end of this lunch and learn rather, it is not your goal to have sold a deal. It's your goal to have educated, and then in the last 10 minutes you can pitch. But you're not pitching, again, a full managed service agreement or your full offering. If you're doing dark web, you're pitching a scan. You could pitch an audit. You can pitch a lunch to talk about security. All those kind of things could be relevant for a Hacking the Hacker. That is your large-scale event that you want to host for, like I said, about 15 to 25 people. If you want to do something smaller, you can do a security summit. You don't feel confident on stage, you don't have a place to host the event, anything like that, you could do a security summit. The security summit is more like 5 people. You're inviting 5 people to lunch and you're just talking about the status of security, the state of the land. You don't have to have a prepared presentation for that. It's more just news-based and the information that you're going to share as the expert. With that one, you don't have to do a full-bore marketing campaign necessarily. For that, you can do more things like individual invites, individual calls, meetings at TBRs, those kind of things, just to get people to come to the Security Summit. You could host that at a restaurant. You could host that in your conference room. You could host that at a client site. But it's a smaller event gauged to be more informal. You could host several of those throughout the month if that makes you more comfortable than a full-bore lunch and learn. Now, you'll see here where I mentioned client lunch and learn. Maybe you don't want to go out and prospect yet. Maybe you want this to be kind of a trial run of what your lunch and learn would look like. Invite your clients. Do it sort of as a client appreciation and education event. Say you want to celebrate Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and with that, one of the most important ways to be secure is to educate your employees, and we'd like to extend this opportunity to our clients. It's very similar content to Hacking the Hacker, but you can turn it more into a client appreciation, client lunch and learn event, keep them engaged, keep them educated. Now, this is not necessarily going to turn into deals to sign, but it can increase the stickiness of your current customers if you want to go that route. A note on hosting either that lunch and learn for clients or the Hacking the Hacker. If you don't feel like you have a venue for this, partner with someone who does. You can partner with a chamber, partner with a client, partner with another organization, maybe tie in a cyber insurance type of organization, anything like that. That is what you want to do with those types of events. Now, let's talk about how we're getting people to our events. and I told you I would roll out the agenda and timeline for the campaign. This is what that is. Okay. You'll see email header with blog one and then event specific emails. So as we talked about earlier, our campaigns are based around 4 blogs or 3 blogs and a resource. On those email sends, we will put a header image about our event, and that header image will link to the registration for that event. We don't mention it in the email itself unless you want to put a button at the bottom that also invites people to the event. But these emails are specifically about the content of the blog, what we're pushing out with that blog, and then it has an email header on top of it that highlights the event. Make sure that the content of your blog matches the content of that header so that it is cohesive in terms of your content, which shouldn't be an issue here because most of the campaign is going to be all around that cybersecurity awareness, exactly what Hacking the Hacker is on. So that October 1st is a Tuesday. On Thursday, we're going to send an event-specific email. Now, do you want to send it to the same people? Possibly. We have people that send it to their entire audience. We have people that send it just to their engaged prospects. And engaged in our world means anybody that has opened or clicked on an email in the past 90 days. 90 days to 6 months. So we send that email to the people that are most interested in. And like I said, that is an event-specific email. It can basically be a version of your landing page registration page with a why you'd want to attend. We're cordially inviting you to this event, why you want to attend, and then your registration button. Again, include that header. That's the beautification part of your event, but it is only and all about the event. You'll see in this campaign that we've got 4 of those event-specific emails. One that I really want to highlight here is your last chance email. This email alone tends to generate the most attendance. What we find with these campaigns is people start to get interested and they say, oh yeah, I definitely want to come to that. And they'll start talking to people in their office, they'll start talking to everybody, and then find, lo and behold, they didn't actually register. That's where you get no-shows, or that's where you get people that all of a sudden say, oh, maybe I can't make it today, and they don't. That last chance tends to get them over the hump in terms of that registration. It tends to get them to actually pull the trigger on registration. So definitely make sure you have that last chance email. You can even send that last chance email one more time the day before the event. So you're seeing here all these pushes. There are 4 event-specific pushes and 4 content-specific pushes. Each of those content-specific pushes has the header image, and the event-specific, it's a lot of the same content each time, but sometimes we tweak it around to do a different intro, an intriguing story, anything like that, so you're not just sending the exact same email each time. And then we have laid out here that that event is Tuesday, October 29th. You may want to extend this out, like I mentioned, into November, but don't go past the 2nd week of November. Okay. I went over several ideas here. You've got the social idea. You've got blogging. You've got email campaigns. You've got events. You may not be able to do all of these things, and that is okay as long as you start to take action. You need to do something. Cybersecurity Awareness Month is too big of an opportunity to not do something. So what I encourage you to do is I encourage you to write out what your Cybersecurity Awareness Month campaign is going to be and send it to me. Send it specifically to accountmanager@chartech.net, and I will take a look at it and review it. You can say simply, I'm going to use this campaign from Core, and here's my cadence. You can go into in-depth and do a full table of exactly what your schedule is going to be. But I encourage you to do something. Even if you're just going to do social media posts, tell me what those social media posts are. Tell me what that schedule is going to be so that we can help hold you accountable to this. Now, you may be sitting here thinking this is something that is in a pipe dream of something I want to do. I want to do much more than what I am going to be able to do this month. That is where something like our premium membership offering comes in. We do this for members across the nation. These are campaigns that we are helping people run next month. These are things we're talking to people about each and every day in terms of cybersecurity awareness and other campaigns. So our premium program takes all of this off of your hands, and every month we will run a campaign like this. You're responsible for the feet on the street when it comes to the events. You're responsible to that side of it. We will help you out with all the content, all the social, all the sending, all the lead scoring. We do that through our software platform, Acton. We can absolutely take this off your hands. If you're interested in something like that, email membership@chartech.net. Some of you are thinking, I can do this myself. I just need the content and I need the tool. You've got two options there. Core, for all of our Chartech members, has these campaigns. You saw an example of those campaigns up there. All of these campaigns are there under resources. You absolutely can use whatever email platform you want to make this happen. If you want to take it a step further and you want Acton, but you don't need all the extra support of premium, you've got that on lock, we actually can offer you an Acton license for you to utilize our lead scoring. What's the benefit of that? As I've been harping on, we have seen a tremendous difference in our ability to follow up when we have scored our leads versus when we haven't, and we like to use Acton for that purpose. An added bonus to that, we actually can share with you all of the content that ARC has utilized in ARC templates. So you don't even have to copy in the content for the campaign. You simply can use ARC's content and then shift out the branding on the template. So if you're interested in that, it's another version of our marketing. Again, membership@chartech.net. Last but not least, sending that campaign to us for us to review. That's account manager at chartech.net. Let us know what you're doing so we can hold you accountable to it. Okay. Covered a lot of ground here in terms of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I want to go ahead and open it up for any questions that you guys have in the last few minutes here. The first question that I'm seeing is, if I can only do one or two of these things, which is the most important to do? And that is a fabulous question. And the answer to that is it depends. It depends on if you have an email list or not. If you have an email list, the email campaigns are the thing to do, because you can track their interaction, you can track the engagement, you can also pay attention to what's happening. Maybe you don't have all of the capacity to even do all the blogs that are tied into those campaigns. Take out some of the blog components. Our emails themselves give a little bit of that introduction, or a sufficient enough introduction. So if you've got an email list and you can only do one thing, do an email campaign. If you don't have an email list, it's going to need to be a couple things. Do the blogs and do social media. Just drop out that email campaign. I mean, it sounds pretty obvious there. If you don't have an email list, you can't do an email campaign. It's all possible. That event is really, really good, but it does want something a list of some sort. And it's kind of all creme de la creme. If you can get that going, that is absolutely the thing to do. So I mentioned if you have an email list versus if you don't have an email list. What if you don't have an email list and you want an email list? You've got a couple options here. Your first option is to utilize your networking opportunities, actually get all those business cards that you've been collecting into the system and start reaching out. Use what you've got. Your second option, you can utilize something like LinkedIn Sales Navigator to start targeting people, to start getting people to interact there, and you could run a version of this campaign more so on LinkedIn and then with Messenger, as opposed to the emails, until you can get people branched into the emails. Your third option would be to purchase an email list. Now, only purchase a list if you're going through a broker, and that broker will send emails on your behalf before you get the clean list. That is super important for CAN spam compliance. If you're in Canada, that's not an option at all. You're going to have to go with either of the first two options I mentioned. But if you're purchasing an email list, make sure that broker can clean that list for you, scrub that list, send emails on your behalf before you get it, because that is where you get third-party opt-in, and that helps you in terms of spam compliance. Still, you want to have good hygiene with that list. Once you get the list from the broker, you don't just want to dump everybody into the list all at once. You want to slowly build up to your full lead list. So your first send, you'd send to 30% of the audience, then 60% of the audience, then the whole audience getting there. So that's something you want to look at. You can expect much lower results in terms of cold leads when you purchase a list versus something that you cultivate yourself. So I would highly recommend doing both if you can. All right. The last question here is about the event specifically and who would be a good group to partner with. For the facilities, I mentioned you could partner with a chamber, you could partner with a client, those kind of things. You want to partner with somebody that is going to allow you to drive the speaking engagement and can't cannibalize your sale. So, for example, if you're partnering with an insurance broker, for example, that's a perfectly fine play because they're not going to pick their offering over your offering. They would pick them in concert together. It'd be most important to do that together, those kind of things. So make sure you're picking a partner that is going to allow you to drive that content and doesn't cannibalize the sale. Sometimes you've got vendors that want to jump in and help with this content. We have found that they are not the best speakers. They tend to make it very, very, very solution specific. So try to avoid that if at all possible. After the webinar. That being said, you guys go out and have a happy Cybersecurity Month. If you want any assistance with this, first step, account manager with your plan. Second step, reach out to membership@chartech.net to talk either about the Act-On license or about premium marketing services for us to take this all off your hands and support you for this month and beyond. And we will be off to the races there. So have a fantastic Thursday, everyone. Thank you for joining me.